Okay, so I'm recording this for a second time because I realized when I was editing the first recording that my mic was too far away and points were getting cut off. So I'm doing this again. But I just want to talk about um, if you guys have watched my last video, or like 2 videos ago, which I don't think anyone did. It was talking about how I almost died in college. And I think no one really watched that video because I put the word died in the title. I noticed I like looking at the analytics, um, and I noticed that that got shown to many fewer people than the rest of my videos. But I digress. And this video is going to be about the sort of the end of that story when I got surgery for the problem that I had and what that experience was like. So this happened in spring of 2023, and throughout like the months leading up to that, I was still debating on whether or not I should get surgery because, surgery, choosing to have surgery is a big thing. Um, you're willingly deciding, all right, they're going to cut me open and they're going to go inside of me and take some shit out. But I figured like this is my best option because at that point I was still having sort of daily abdominal pain and nothing else was really working. So I met with the surgeon back like in late 2022. She went over what they were going to do, how they were going to do it, um, and that they were going to try and do it laparoscopically, which means that the incision that they put all the tools into is smaller, but they have to make 2 other really tiny incisions to basically pump your abdominal cavity full of gas that inflates it and allows them to sort of, or gives them more area to work with, rather than, your abdomen being flat and like having to push it out of the way every single time they're trying to do something. Um, so they said that's what the surgeon said, but she did say that, hey, depending on what we see, we might have to open you up fully, or or you might have to get an ostomy, which is where when they take out the part of your intestine, because that's what they were going into, work on. They were working on my small intestine. When they go in, if part of the small intestine is like too diseased, they obviously cut that out. But if the rest of it is like has problems with it, sometimes they take where the good part stops and they reroute it to a man-made hole in your abdomen, and that's called an ostomy, where all the food that comes out, like partially digested food, that just comes out into a bag. And they do that. Um, Sometimes it's permanent, sometimes it's temporary to let the remaining intestine that's no longer connected to heal. But those were possibilities for me. So I still say, you know what, I need to go through with this. I'm still having, chronic pain every day. So we schedule it for March of 2023. And the day comes, I had to prep the day before. So that basically means similar to a colonoscopy, no food, and then you have to drink like a tub of Miralax that's mixed into like, you know, 3 bottles of Gatorade. That's the only thing you drink, and then like some laxatives, some other laxative pills, and that just clears you completely out. Like you're just shitting water by the end of the night. And then in the morning, I have to take some broad spectrum antibiotics to, lower the level of bacteria in my small intestine, just to sort of make it less likely that I get some sort of infection or like sepsis, which would be really bad. Um, but I remember after taking the antibiotics, like right before the surgery, that I was starting to feel really nauseous, probably because I was super dehydrated from shitting out all the water that I've ever drank, um, and then the antibiotics. But sorry, I'm just taking a sip of my drink. But I go into the hospital. I check in, they bring me to my room, I get undressed, I get everything ready. They start hooking me up to IVs and stuff. They double check and triple check that I am who I say I am. Um, the surgeon comes in, she reassures me, and they eventually wheel me into the operating room. Um, my mom was there with me, like she was there for emotional support, but obviously she couldn't go into the operating room as well. But they wheel you into the operating room, and it's a huge operating room. Like, I remember it being very big, and there are like 7 or 8 people there who are all there for me. Like, I'm the person that they are. Like, it is their job to take care of me in that moment and like be at the top of their game. So that was pretty cool to like understand that all these people are there for me. Um, but they hoist me up onto the operating table, and there's like a huge fluorescent light beaming down on me, and they have you breathe some 100% oxygen because they do that so when they put in um, the anesthesia into your IV, the anesthesia that they use stops you breathing. It stops you breathing automatically. So they give you a bunch of oxygen beforehand to like give them time to, once they knock you out, to put in the breathing tube. Because when you go under general, when you go under general anesthesia, you have to get a breathing tube. There are some other anesthesias that, um, they don't put you on a breathing tube, but for like most major surgeries, they do. Um, and when they put in the anesthesia, it's basically like a hard cut. Like you're there in the operating room, and you might remember like them saying, "All right, we're putting in the anesthesia now." You might even start to feel it a little bit, like this sort of strange feeling that comes over you. It's sort of like a warm, fuzzy feeling, but not like comforting, just like a strange, odd feeling. And then it's like a hard cut to you waking up, um, or you might not even be waking up. It might just be like a hard cut to you already having been awake, like your brain just sort of restarts um, when you're in the ICU, and that's what happened to me. And I woke up in the ICU. I wasn't really in pain at all because I think they had given me pain meds during the procedure. But I remember laying down in my bed, sort of propped up a little bit. But I remember thinking like, okay, I'm not in pain right now, but I should not try and sit up right now. Like sitting up would not be good. So like uh, my brain was telling me that, and that was probably a good idea because if I tried to sit up too fast, I definitely would have given myself a hernia, which is where uh, if you push too hard on like using your abdominal muscles and you got ab- and you got abdominal surgery, that will push like part of your intestines out through the incision, and that would be bad. That's not good. But they so I was in the ICU for like I don't know, maybe 45 minutes to an hour, um, and I was pretty loopy. I remember, and they eventually bring me into my own room. Well, actually, it wasn't my own room. I was sharing it with this other guy that I never saw because there was a curtain between us. But they send me to my own room, and the surgeon comes in eventually, and she's like, "Hey, guess what? It's not Crohn's," and that's what they had thought. That's what I'd thought when they'd went in. She said it's this congenital defect that we took it out, and once you recover from like the injuries from surgery, you should just be like completely good. So that was in some ways a relief, but in other ways kind of frustrating because I'd been dealing with this for like 4.5 years at this point. So like I was basically thinking to myself like, oh, all this pain and shit that I went through for 4.5 years, you're telling me I could have just gotten a surgery and it would have been done with? Like that would have been helpful to know. But um, so surgeon leaves, and this is on a Tuesday. So I had surgery in the morning on a Tuesday. I wake up Tuesday mid-afternoon, and I stay until Thursday. I leave like Thursday late morning, early afternoon. And the recovery was not great. Like it was not a pleasant recovery, I would say. I remember on Tuesday, um, I don't know if it was that day or maybe on Wednesday, but they want to try and have you moving pretty soon after surgery, after like you're waking up. So I remember them trying to get me to sit up, and whenever I would sit up, the alarms would start beeping because my heart rate would spike. And then they're like, okay, that's probably not a good idea. You should probably just like take it easy for a little bit. I was like, yeah, that's probably a good idea. I agree with you. Um, and that night on Tuesday, I remember um, it started to get painful because going back to the surgery, when they inflate your abdomen to do it laparoscopically, which is what they did, um, they inflate it with like nitrogen, but when they seal you back up, they don't like deflate your abdomen. It just stays in there and then it has to come out somehow. So for whatever reason, it it drifts upward, the gas, and it like diffuses through your shoulders. It's very strange feeling and it's not it hurts. It's not comfortable at all. Um, it was like this weird like pressure in in like my collarbone and the tops of my shoulders, and the pain meds that they were giving me weren't really helping. Sort of side note, the pain meds that they were giving me was just Advil and Tylenol. I was not getting the fun pain meds. You know, they weren't giving me opioids. They weren't giving me a perk 30. And I was like, what the fuck, man? I want the fun drugs. I'm in the hospital. Why aren't I getting the fun drugs? They said, oh, because, opioids can make you constipated and you really don't want that when you're recovering from abdominal surgery. Like, motherfucker. God damn it. I wanted a damn perk 30. But they had me on um, like high doses of Advil and Tylenol alternating every 3 hours. So like noon I would take Advil, 3 p.m. I would take Tylenol, 6 p.m. I would take Advil, and that would just be like recurring. Um, and that helped with the pain. Obviously not with the sort of weird shoulder pain that happened. That was Tuesday night, so I didn't get much sleep Tuesday night. And then Wednesday night comes around, or Wednesday the day comes around. I didn't really sleep Tuesday night, and during that time they have you trying to eat solid foods now, soft foods like yogurt and um, like soft eggs and things like that. And then I think I tried like a couple bites of bacon, but I just was really not hungry at all. I was just trying to force some stuff down, whatever little things I could stomach. Um, and at that point, they were trying to get me to walk around. So they had me up and out of the bed and walking around on the little like floor that I was on. And my mom was there, so she was like helping me around. I had they told me to hold a pillow against my abdomen like tight because that would help with preventing a hernia. So I was doing that. I was sort of shuffling around the floor. And I remember I felt like I needed to fart. And I was like, oh, I should try and push out a fart now. And I farted. And I just, this is so fucking, obscene. But I mean, you clicked on a video that is asking or is telling you, what is major abdominal surgery like? And I'll tell you. So I tried to push out a fart and I felt something drip down my leg and I shit myself. Like that was the first time I shit myself in fucking, I don't know, what was I, 23? So like fucking 18 years. I don't think I shit myself since I was like 4 or 5, maybe. Maybe younger probably. But it was like just a little bit of liquid. And my mom sees it and she like runs to go get a nurse. And the nurse comes by and she's like, oh yeah, that's fine, that's normal. Um, and they cleaned it up and I cleaned myself up, but it was just very embarrassing. Um, yeah, I got no shame uh, telling this story, but I go back um, into my bed, and then I think I don't know if this was before or after when I shit myself, but um, when I woke up from surgery and throughout like most of Tuesday and into, or all of Tuesday and into Wednesday, I had a catheter in, which, drains urine. And that's not a pleasant just thing to have on. Um, and I remember it was not draining really well. So I would, hell, fucking hell, I would have to sort of call in the nurse to move the move the tube around a little bit to try and get it to drain because I couldn't uh, like reach the tube because I didn't want to like sit up. Uh, so that was very frustrating and embarrassing. But they eventually, I think, in on Wednesday, they take the catheter out, which was not a pleasant experience either. You know, but then they said, "Hey, you have to produce urine within the next like 45 minutes, or we are putting it back in." Um, so taking the catheter out was unpleasant and painful, but I've heard that getting it put in is like infinitely worse. So I was like, fuck that, I'm not letting them do that shit. So I remember sitting on my bed with like a jug, trying as hard as I can to piss into this jug. And it's not like I had nothing ready to go. Like my bladder was pretty full, but it was like the fact that I had a catheter in and the fact that it had been taken out, it's like that entire part of my body just like shut down. And my dick was like, we're not peeing right now. Nuh-uh, no. But eventually, it was like I had to concentrate so hard. Eventually, after like maybe 10, 15 minutes, I finally started peeing, and I was like, thank fucking God that they don't have to put the catheter back in. Uh, that would have fucking sucked. But let's see, what else? What else happened? So I guess not much else happened until Wednesday night, because that's when like the actual abdominal pain started. So for like the pain from surgery, that's when that started happening, and I was super uncomfortable. I remember I was pretty nauseous, so I asked for some anti-nausea meds as well. Um, but I didn't really sleep Wednesday night either, and I was still on the sort of rotating Advil and Tylenol. I think if I asked for something stronger, they would have given me something. And I did ask for something. I think they gave me like a small dose of benzo, maybe like an Ativan, just to try and help me feel a bit more comfortable that night. But I eventually make it through the night, in like, just pretty bad abdominal pain. And on Thursday, like Thursday morning, I uh, go to the bathroom and I use the bathroom for like the first time, like going number two, and it is just like black liquid coming out. So that, obviously freaked me out, and I was like, oh shit, I think something's wrong. I call in like the student doctor. He looks and he's like, oh no, that's normal. You know, that's gonna happen because there's probably gonna be some bleeding in your intestine, and the fact that you haven't really eaten anything means that that's probably only blood. So like as long as it's only a little and it stops eventually, you should be good. But I was really scared at that point. So at that point, I was like, I don't know if I can leave the hospital. Like, I don't feel comfortable uh, heading home. But eventually, they convinced me to leave, and I they wheeled me out in a wheelchair. Um, and I'm still holding the pillow against my stomach. Um, I get into the car, we drive home, and from the hospital, it was like an hour plus from the hospital to where I was living at the time with my parents. And I get home, and I remember, I think it was either that night, so Thursday night, or maybe the night after, Friday night, um, I was trying to get like some amount of sleep because, I was still on this every 3 hours take meds. So obviously you can't get a lot of sleep doing that. And I was like, oh, I'm going to try and skip the 3 a.m. meds. So I think I take them at my last meds at midnight, and I sleep through the 3 a.m. Time, and I wake up at like 4:45 in like excruciating abdominal pain, and I'm like, fuck, God, damn it. So I take, whatever I had to take, Tylenol, um, and that eventually went away. Um, but then it was just, getting used to walking around my house, like taking laps around my house, um, showering again. They, my parents put a stool in the shower, which was super helpful because, uh, it allowed me to obviously sit down while taking a shower, and that was really nice to do. Um, and I don't think I could get like the incision wet for like maybe a week afterwards or something like that. So I had to wait a little while to take a shower, but um, sitting down in the shower was really nice. Um, and eventually, like, it got better. Obviously, the pain went away and the incisions healed, and yeah, and eventually, you know, all worked out. um, but I don't know if this was interesting to you. Um, I hope you liked it, and I hope I didn't scare you by talking about all this medical shit, you know, all the shit that went wrong with me during my time in the hospital. Um, but I think it's interesting, and not a lot of people know like the super uh, gritty details of having abdominal surgery. Um, like if you ask someone, if someone tells you like, oh yeah, I had surgery on my small intestine, or like I had uh, appendix surgery because they also removed my appendix when they went in. Um, like if someone tells you like, oh, I had appendicitis and they removed my appendix, like they are probably sparing you the details of all the stuff that happened in the hospital. It probably wasn't pretty, but that's that's about it. Uh, I don't know what my next video is going to be. We'll see. But I hope you guys found that interesting. So that's it.